So, Tom, you got something good for us?
Yeah, we released some new data today. Mind, I'll jump in here. And we have a couple new things that we're getting into as part of our kind of open government vis-a-vis open data. So we've been working on food deserts for quite some time. It was one of the mayor's big initiatives of reducing the number of residents in Chicago that live outside of a reasonable distance to access a grocery store, and a sufficiently sized grocery store that might have fresh fruits and vegetables, fish, fresh meats as well. And so last week we released new and revised numbers. We've seen a decrease about 20% in underserved populations that are in food deserts. Great numbers. But we want to follow up with actually releasing data as well, and all the data that supports the calculations. So there's two main categories of releases we have. We have about 10 new data sets on the portal that pertain to our calculations for food deserts. The first one I pulled up here is grocery stores 2013. Now we've had two numbers. We have 2011 numbers and we have 2013 numbers. So we kind of mirror everything that we just released. But here's a list of grocery stores that we used in our counts to say that these are grocery stores that counted for food deserts. And one of the things that we are trying to do more and more frequently now with our data sets is to map that across. So you can actually take these grocery stores, which are listed, and then cross-map them to our business license data set. And if you take a look up in the description, that's a little gray button right there. There's a link just off screen here that goes back to our business license data set, so you can map that with other data that we have on our portal. You can see more detail on each grocery store that's listed here. It provides the square feet, the address, and I'm going to scroll to the right a little bit. The census tract, the census block number, and there's also an ID here where we've broken up the city to a lot of very small segments of streets, so we're including more geographic identifiers as well. So this includes the list of grocery stores, the list of grocery stores just outside of Cook County that are close enough to the border where people might go to them to get food. Also listing population estimates by census block as well. That's also on the portal. And so about 10 data sets in total, which we have added mostly around new grocery stores. So that's one bit of the release. Traditional data portal release, new information, you can go and download it. I'm going to want to switch over to our GitHub accounts and go into our food deserts data set. So we're going to continue to work on food desert calculations going forth, and we're still trying to refine the methodology. Both improving data and then also continue trying to refine methodology to improve our counts to make sure everything looks pretty good. We're pretty zoomed in here.
Enhance.
So what we have here is pretty much the same information, but all into one GitHub repository. So if you want to go and you want to improve or you want to repeat the calculations we've done, you can go and grab this repo. Has all the necessary information on there, including the buffer files. So our methodology is if you're 10,000 square feet or larger, you have to live within a mile to be outside of or to be within a served area. If you're between 2,500 square feet and 10,000 square feet, you need to be within a half mile. One tends to have parking lots, the other one tends not to, so it's whether or not you're going to be driving or walking to that grocery store. So we have to put the buffer files. We also have those posted on here in GeoJSON formats, and then all the data that we released on the portal into one single repository. So it's a bit more grab and go. And then also we've listed our methodology on this as well, so you can repeat the same process. You can repeat the same process and improve upon it, or you can go to the data and say you have errors and mistakes in your data as well. You can do a pull request and we'll review it to see whether or not indeed it was a mistake, and if it needs to be added or it needs to be deleted or some sort of change in methodology. So it's not about only open data, but also trying to show the methodology of things that we've done, release that out there so for full public review. And so that was our release today.
Awesome.
Uncomfortable question.
Yeah.
Are you going to be releasing the actual code that the methodology describes?
So it's not really code. It's a lot of clipping. So you set your boundaries, and then you clip the file, and you see what census blocks you have left over, and you take the proportion of of that. So there's not a singular script that we can reference right now. I'd like to set one up in Quantum GIS if possible, but right now there's not a singular script that we use to calculate
Translation, pull request forward.
Yeah, if you want to.
I look forward to your pull requests. Thank you, Carl.
There you go, right? Yeah, this is going to be something that if anybody's interested in, we can get a little group on stuff tonight.
But actually, so how has this analysis been used internally to guide policy making around food in the city?
So a couple of years ago, when the first round of the analysis was done, the mayor pulled together 6 CEOs from different grocery stores and really laid out, like, listen, here's the gaps. We have food deserts in these areas. These are also areas of population that you're not serving any sort of way. These are outside your customer base. Since then, 6 new grocery stores have been built in food desert areas, which have reduced that number. In total, I think it's been 14 new grocery stores, but 6 in particular that were built in food deserts. And so we're going to go back and revise and revisit and say, here's further areas of food deserts, in particular around 92nd, around the 95th Street Red Line stop, there's a food desert. That area we need to focus on. So going back to those owners.
So to even get a handle on the problem, initially you have to kind of measure it. And then you can use that resulting map to target where you might want to actually put in the stores, and sounds like that's what happened. Right?
So we've seen some progress. There's still food deserts in the area, again, mostly pretty far south where there is noticeable gaps.
Juan, there's also been a renewed push for community gardens. So the city is a little more open to handing over city-owned parcels to communities that want to operate the garden. And then also there's like 4 used CTA buses that have been converted into miniature portable grocery stores.
Yeah.
And that was all part of this. Well, actually, some of it was even prior to Mayor Emanuel coming into office.
Yeah, in fact, we also released all the pretty much larger urban farms that we know about also is on the portal. That was kind of buried amongst everything else, but a list of urban farms are now on the portal and looking to expand it in the near future.
Have you guys tried applying a greedy algorithm to your maps to see if that helps?
A greedy algorithm to capture more of that area?
Just to figure out the center. So,
yeah. Yeah, no, we haven't. They reveal themselves pretty cleanly right now. And again, right around that 95th red line stop, there's a noticeable gap. But beyond that, our methodology has been pretty simple in terms of the buffers that we've been applying and just looking areas within those buffers.
A buffer, for those who don't know, is a radius around a point. So you just say, like, okay, we have a list of all the grocery stores, which is what he was showing earlier, and then you say you draw a radius around it, and you can start to count, say, how many people are within reach of that store, et cetera. So that sounds like sort of how you're currently going about measuring food deserts, right?
Yeah, and then looking at the census tract, and so we're doing the census tract analysis. So probably one of the handier things on just the pure geek side is releasing population by census tract. At least now there's an easy location, so you can go and download that, or sorry, not census tract, census block. So you can go and download that information pretty quickly.
So for every block in Chicago, you can actually get the number of people who live there, or the number of households, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's usually between 1 and 300 people per census block is the typical range.
So it sounds like basically the analysis is an assessment of whether supply is available.
Yeah.
Drawing the box and saying, are you inside or outside of it?
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any data on demand? Whether people actually access options in different neighborhoods?
Not terribly good. We've taken some steps to reduce that by eliminating non-residential areas of Chicago. So there's areas that simply don't have residents, and so these are commercial areas or industrial areas of the city, the industrial corridors, areas where there's large parks or areas along the riverbed. So we've eliminated the obvious, which is there's simply no people there, so we're not counting that within the geography. In terms of actual household demand, no. It's tough to get that data.
I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Do we have any other announcements?
One more question. Have you published the maps anymore?
Maps?
Yeah.
It depends which map. So on the portal right now, there's interactive clickable maps of location of grocery stores, location of Cook County stores, a few of those things. When it comes to actual shapefiles, anything that's going to be shapefile related, we put into GeoJSON format, a bit more open, and we put that to the portal. The shapefiles include the buffers, includes everything that we released on the portals redone in a GeoJSON format.
So the actual food deserts are on the portal?
The actual outline of food deserts are not currently on the portal. I'd like to get that here soon. So, yeah.
Someone mentioned buses, city buses that have been converted. Have you guys thought about incentivizing companies like Peapod to really go there?
So the policies haven't touched on something like Peapod yet. A lot of the focus has been around food carts, is what we call the buses. Small grocery stores that only serve fresh fruits and vegetables and other fresh food. And then the third area of that problem is just opening new grocery stores. So we've not looked into business incentivization of something like Peapod yet.
Up in our neighborhood, there's a little nonprofit that's running a little produce stand that opens every morning right outside of Wilson House.
Yeah.
Is that the sort of thing that might make sense at 95th too, that the city could facilitate?
Yeah, so there's a lot of those in the west side of the city and southwest side of the city as well, and is one of the focuses of trying to get fresh food into those neighborhoods. And so that's something else where we release this information. You notice that there's missing gaps. These are really good bits of information to include, because I'm sure the data is incomplete. There's no doubt about it.